A timid boy is bullied by his classmates, but just as the situation worsens, his older brother Bing steps in to protect him. Overwhelmed with relief and happiness, the younger brother feels safe at last. But then, Bing suddenly begins to fade away, leaving behind only a reassuring smile and the words, "If it's you, you can definitely do it." The boy reaches out, only to awaken in his bed, realizing it was all just a dream. In high school, the protagonist contracted a strange illness that caused his brain to uncontrollably recall all past memories, including long-forgotten fragments. The downside was that he suffered severe headaches whenever the symptoms flared up. The hospital couldn't determine the cause, but thanks to his mother, who found special medicine from abroad, the condition was brought under control. However, the medicine's effects were weakening because the protagonist's tolerance had increased. One morning, he walked out of his room after hearing his aunt yell that breakfast was ready and that a package had arrived for him. She welcomed him and mentioned she would take him shopping later to buy new clothes. He grabbed the package and casually agreed. Strangely, it didn't say who had sent it. Suddenly, a chill ran down his spine. His grandmother smacked him on the head and warned that if he went with his aunt, she'd break his legs. His aunt argued back, insisting that since he was now in his 20s, he needed to start dressing better. Otherwise, he would remain single forever. The grandmother grew furious, realizing her daughter was only trying to avoid the blind date she was supposed to attend that day. She wanted her daughter to remarry, but the aunt refused, complaining that all the men were unattractive. Meanwhile, the protagonist opened the package and found a sleek card inside. It looked like a VIP membership to a high-end wellness club. He slipped it into his pocket, then pulled out the letter enclosed. To his surprise, it was from his brother Bing. In the letter, Bing explained that he was gifting him something interesting. Bing admitted his own abilities were limited, but he believed the protagonist was capable of handling the gift. Confused, the protagonist frowned and pulled out his phone to call Bing, since they hadn't spoken in years. Before he could process it, a strange feeling washed over him. Someone finally answered. The protagonist thanked the caller for the gift, only to realize it wasn't Bing on the other end, but his Uncle Lei. Uncle Lei explained that he was at Bing's school because Bing had been missing for 2 days. Shocked, the protagonist asked if they had called the police and filed a missing persons report. His uncle replied that the school had already checked the security cameras, but Bing had never left his room. He had simply vanished. Bing's roommate told investigators that Bing had been lying down, and the next moment, he was gone. The protagonist froze, struggling to believe what he was hearing. The school and police department advised Uncle Lei to go home and wait for further news. After the call ended, the protagonist replayed everything in his head, then remembered the unique card Bing had supposedly gifted him. But when he reached into his pocket, the card was gone. It had vanished. A wave of dread washed over him, and his headache suddenly intensified. Clutching his head, he scrambled for his medicine, but the pain only grew worse. The protagonist's past memories start to flood in, recalling everything he knows about his brother. Suddenly, his nose begins to bleed. He takes 2 pills and swallows them. A knock sounds at his door. Someone tells him that investigators from the Kongyang District Public Security Bureau are there to speak with him. The protagonist feels uneasy, suspecting something strange since that's his cousin's unit. He overhears his grandmother speaking with the investigators, insisting that her grandchild would never commit a crime and demanding to know why they are there. The investigators assure her it's just a routine inquiry. After checking their identification, the grandmother confirms they are who they say they are. She warns the protagonist not to be hiding anything bad from her. He tells her no. The investigators turn out to be his cousin's colleagues. The protagonist introduces himself and invites them inside. One of them asks if he knows Bing. The protagonist answers yes and asks what happened to him. His grandmother closes the door and tells them to sit down. The investigators explain that on the morning Bing disappeared, he sent the protagonist a package. The protagonist, shocked, asks how Bing could be missing. The investigators insist he only answer yes or no. Did he receive a package from Bing? After thinking it over, The protagonist admits he received a package just before their arrival, though it had no sender name. They ask what was inside. He replies that it was empty. The investigators wonder why it would be empty. The protagonist silently thinks to himself that since the card disappeared, it was essentially as if the package were empty. The investigators then say it would be in his best interest to let them search his room, computer, and cell phone. The protagonist gives a displeased look but agrees, saying it will only prove his innocence. The head investigator instructs the others to begin. A female investigator asks for his phone. Anxiously, he hands it over, blushing as he warns her that whatever she finds was just self-study. She assures him they're only looking for things related to Bing. The protagonist then asks another investigator if he knows anything more about his brother's disappearance. The investigator explains that campus surveillance shows Bing never left his room, yet he vanished. The school notified both the police and his guardians. The protagonist recalls that this is the same story his uncle told him, but he suspects they're still hiding the full truth. The head investigator warns him not to conceal anything and to report any clues immediately. Otherwise, the next person to go missing could be him. The protagonist doesn't understand what he means and wonders if it's a threat. Soon after, the female investigator returns, saying the phone check is complete. She gives the protagonist a warm smile, and blushing, he realizes she's seen everything on his phone. The head investigator tells him they'll be leaving and hands him a business card with his contact information. The protagonist says goodbye, hoping they'll keep him updated on any news regarding Bing's whereabouts. After they leave, the grandmother advises the protagonist to visit Bing's mother, but he tells her he has a headache and wants to lie down. He promises to let his grandfather know what's going on when he returns home. Meanwhile, the investigators sit in their car. The head investigator asks his colleague if she found anything. She replies that she made a major discovery. He tells her to explain. She jokes that the protagonist has a thing for mature women in black stockings and that today is Crazy Thursday. The head investigator is annoyed, saying that isn't a real discovery. She laughs and tells him to lighten up, then reveals that she actually found a letter from Bing hidden under a flower pot. They conclude that the protagonist received a character card, though they don't yet know which class card Bing sent him. The head investigator tells her to visit the protagonist again tomorrow, if he hasn't gone missing by then. Later that night, the protagonist is sitting at his desktop, assuming that if Brother Bing's disappearance was deliberate, then other parties might be after the black card. He thinks Brother Bing gave him the card because he doesn't trust the Public Security Bureau. The best solution would be to contact his cousin. However, he can't reach his cousin, and even if he did, it would be hard to explain that a black card vanished into his pocket. The protagonist hears a loud knock on his door. His aunt is furious because he hasn't answered her calls or texts. The protagonist tells her he's coming. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain in his head. He touches it and finds it hot. He doesn't know what's happening, and the pain keeps getting worse. The grandmother interrupts his aunt and says he wasn't feeling well and had taken a nap. She tells her daughter not to disturb him and to tell her how the blind date went. The aunt says the blind date went great. The guy makes $1 million a year, has a car and a house. But she doesn't like him because he earns too much. The protagonist looks at himself in the mirror. There's a black moon on his forehead similar to the one on the black card. A progress indicator shows 90% downloaded. The protagonist wonders what will happen when it reaches 100. He rethinks everything and believes he was right. Brother Bing sent him the card because he didn't want anyone else to have it. The life-changing gift is meant for him. Suddenly, the progress jumps to 99%. A system window flashes. Character card reboot complete. Another window displays character attributes. Race, human, class, night god, level and experience. 0. Morality. 60%. A special bullet point warns not to let his morality drop below 60% and to be a good person. The protagonist thinks the system window is very similar to those in web novels. The system prompts him to name his character. He types his full name into the window. A red message appears. Do not use your real name. He thinks it over and enters a different name. The system reads, name successful. and notifies him that the spirit realm will open in 10 seconds. The protagonist is still shocked by everything he is witnessing. The spirit realm opens and several windows pop up. Spirit realm map finished loading. Welcome to Night God Yuling Tunnel number 79. Difficulty level, S-Class. Type, single-player death type. Main Quest 1. Survive for 3 hours. Main Quest 2. Explore Spirit Realm number 79. Current exploration, 0. Another system note states that non-Spirit Realm items cannot be brought in. The protagonist slowly opens his eyes and looks at his hands. Then he looks around, wondering where he was teleported to. The system window begins to debrief the protagonist about Spirit Realm number 79. The Yuling Tunnel is one of Shanghai's 10 great urban legends. The tunnel was built at the end of the last century. During its construction phase, a work crew vanished after entering the tunnel to excavate. Only one survivor was ever found on a mountain far away. However, he had suffered strange trauma, leaving him delirious and broken-minded. No matter how many people questioned him, he kept repeating the same warning. Never go into the temple. The protagonist looks around, wondering if this is truly the tunnel from the urban legends. He presses a hand against his head, certain it can't be the Yuling Tunnel, because he had recently passed through it on his way home to pay respects to his father. The real tunnel didn't look nearly this old. His body begins trembling uncontrollably from fear. He thinks about the 2 main quests: survive for 3 hours and explore the spirit realm. Taking a deep breath, he steadies himself. Dangerous or not, this is still a mission. There must be a reward for clearing it. The protagonist reflects on his class and wonders, what is a night god? A bad feeling washes over him. The very name of this place makes it sound like a death-type spirit realm. Suddenly, the lights flicker out. Heavy footsteps echo in the distance. The protagonist turns his head and sees a figure slowly approaching. As it comes closer, he realizes it's a zombie. More of them emerge, shambling toward him. A deafening roar fills the tunnel, and one of the zombies raises its hand to point directly at him. The protagonist bolts, but something feels off. Why aren't they chasing me? Glancing ahead, he freezes. He's surrounded. Slowly, his panic fades as he realizes the truth. The zombies aren't attacking him at all. They're pointing at something else. There's a way to escape the cave, and the protagonist runs out. He looks back and notices the zombies are exiting too. He doesn't understand why they aren't attacking him, but he doesn't want to stay near them any longer. The protagonist continues running down a path in the dark woods. Up ahead, he sees a house. As he gets closer to observe, he realizes with horror that it's not a house. It's the temple. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next part of the story. See you in the next one.